If you have heard of children, after years of struggling, making phenomenal gains in reading ability, you may have heard of corrective reading, one of SRA's incomparable direct instruction programs. Direct instruction is a teacher-directed instructional method of carefully orchestrated lessons where nothing is left to chance. Everything is taught through demonstration and action and practiced until it is fully understood and each child can apply it. Finally, every concept is reviewed thoroughly to ensure mastery. It's as simple as that. Direct instruction works. When implemented correctly, it works unbelievably well. As one head teacher says, direct instruction has been probably the most wonderful thing that has ever happened to the teaching profession. Many teachers would agree with her. Direct instruction's methodology and corrective reading's careful lesson structure spells success for both the student and teacher. Corrective reading is a powerful catch-up reading program written in two strands, decoding and comprehension. The decoding strand is written to accommodate the full range of problem readers and is designed to enable all children to read confidently, fluently, and with understanding within a given period of time. The program's stipulated objectives are to take the student from a position of being barely literate to reading at up to 150 words a minute with 98% accuracy in about 2 years' time. Some students show improvements in reading age of 5 years over the course of the program. Some are even recorded as having increased by 3 years in 5 months. Outstanding, isn't it? So how is it done? Well, all children experience success in corrective reading from day one throughout every lesson. By energizing classroom teaching, delivery of the program produces enthusiasm, application, and dramatically improved attitudes in children and feelings of immeasurable satisfaction in their teachers. Children never forget the teacher who, when they had given up hope, taught them to read, liberating them from the crippling desperation of illiteracy. 2 years ago, I was in the southern part of England, and I had gone to see some people at one of the LEAs. And one of the people had been a teacher for many years, and he had taught corrective reading. He said, I remember teaching it. It was a wonderful program. He said, and I was reminded of it a few weeks ago when I was in a supermarket, and I heard a voice, and it shouted, Mr. Wilkinson! And I looked down the aisle, and there was this young lady with a young child and her husband. And she said, it's me, Maureen, Mr. Wilkinson. And she came up to him and she said, Mr. Wilkinson, I remember you and you must remember me. This is my husband, and this is Mr. Wilkinson. Mr. Wilkinson taught me to read. And she burst into tears. And so did Mr. Wilkinson. That's the way that corrective reading affects you. It's a very emotional thing when you get people to be able to do things that they never envisaged they could do. The decoding strand of the corrective reading program focuses on the child's main obstacles to effective literacy, that is, ineffective decoding habits. And these are evidenced by incorrect identification of words, word omissions, additions, guesses and blending reversals, for instance saying was instead of saw, and confusion of high-frequency words. We've all heard them, such as has and was, off and of, and a poor reading rate, resulting in loss of continuity. To replace these paralyzing habits with sound strategies for growth, corrective reading decoding uses the unique direct instruction teaching method, in which lessons are written out in full and presented verbatim to ensure the lesson is a success whenever and wherever it is taught. Lesson objectives are listed every 5 lessons, and mastery tests every 10 lessons. In the programme, there is very careful modelling by the teacher, so that the student has an advantage of being able to recognise what the correct answer is every time. And first of all, we have a line in blue, and the line in blue is always what the teacher says. What the teacher does is in standard script in black, and the response of the students is in italics. So I'm going to show you that by looking at a lesson. It's very simple, where we are determining the sound that a letter makes. And the letter is F. And the lesson is exercise 2 in lesson 6, called Sound Introduction. And I point to the letter F, and I say, here's what the teacher says in blue, always in blue. This letter makes the sound F. What sound? And I touch the F, and the students all reply F. Secondly, your turn. Say each sound when I touch it. F. So I touch on the F, and they say F. The important thing is that these students get it right almost every time. This is a new world for them. They have spent their life in school getting it wrong, and now they're getting it right. Can you imagine what a bolster to confidence that is? And lessons are presented in formats familiar to the student. I like this so much because what it means is that the same sort of tasks are covered in each lesson and in a similar order. So the students who are not very good at something come to the lesson knowing what format it's going to take. It's going to have some words first, they're going to do some reading together, then they're going to do some reading on their own, and this format laid down makes them feel very comfortable with what the lesson is about to be, because so many children go into lessons having no idea what's going to happen and coming out of the lesson also knowing very little of what's gone on.